Federal Bureau of Control. All these years I've been looking for them and they were hiding in plain sight.
Hi there, I'm Tristan Reyes, and this is Gaming Instincts TV. So what would you do if you had no work experience, no family to look to, and more importantly, no past at all? What if an entity inside of your head decided to take you back to your missing brother and help you find the agency that took him? Remedy's Control will answer all of those questions for you. This highly anticipated title from the creators of Quantum Break, Max Payne 1 and 2, and Alan Wake is here for both consoles and PC, and it's got tons of mysteries to solve, powers to use, and enemies to shoot. Whether it's enjoying the spooky atmosphere of the highly secured Federal Bureau building, or using the many different powers you gain to explore the deeper parts of the Bureau, the game can be a blast to play. After an incident many years ago, Jessie Faden finally finds the Federal Bureau of Control building, aka the oldest house, where her brother has been held in since the incident in the town of Ordinary. After discovering that the director of the Bureau killed himself and picks up his gun, things go awry when she realizes that the building's been taken over by an entity called the Hiss. Now she must take up the mantle of becoming the director of the FBC in order to save the building while trying to figure out where her brother's at. The story, for the most part, acts as a sci-fi thriller that beats you over the head with information while you're trying to figure out what's going on and how the world works. The Bureau itself is probably one of the biggest mysteries you'll have to figure out, like how it works, what types of secrets it holds, and knowing exactly what the organization's trying to contain in order to protect humanity.
Goes the poster.
Objects of power can cause or be results of AWE's altered world events, intrusions upon the perceived reality. Now, the service weapon is, of course, a prime example of an OOP, a very powerful one. Ingrained in the Bureau's DNA, a key component in our prime candidate program. Come out of that Russian roulette a winner and you're it.
Throughout the story, Jessie refers to you as Polaris, the entity inside of her head that was able to lead her to the building where her brother was taken to. You can think of it as the player themselves being Polaris, leading Jessie if you want. Jessie and Polaris have a great chemistry together, even if you don't hear or understand what Polaris is saying or doing. You can tell that Jessie really cares for Polaris, and possibly for you for that matter. It's almost meta if you go down that route. Other than talking to Polaris in your head, you can meet several of the members of the Bureau, such as Pope, the eccentric researcher who's willing to help you, and a mysterious janitor named Ati, who guides you using cleaning supplies to show you the way and gives you plenty of side missions. While these characters mostly just stay in their safe areas and just give you info when something happened in the Bureau, the interactions are pretty great. As for the enemies you'll face, they're simply put a mysterious force that has somehow gotten to the Bureau and is turning it into a world-bending, corrupted mess. The Hiss was able to corrupt many of the Bureau members within the building, and while it's pretty hard to simply purify them, you'll have to fight them off with your service weapon. The game looks amazing and feels dreary. As you walk through the almost abandoned halls and offices of the FBC, you'll come across areas that look eerily like what an actual office building is like, such as long winding hallways, abandoned science research rooms, and tons of unexplained supernatural entities called the Hiss that have distorted the building into a strange labyrinth. With the added supernatural bonus that the Hiss brings with him, the building becomes a beacon for all sorts of graphical effects. While some rooms seem normal at first, it can only take a few steps for things to look strange, such as the presence of the Hiss within the floating Bureau members and the seemingly random distortions in the air that indicates that the Hiss are still in the building. Of course, not everything visually is caused by the Hiss. The building's architecture itself and the odd eccentricities it has on its own are visually impressive. For example, the ashtray maze constantly changes itself based on the person using it. Your head will constantly turn in order to figure out where to move next. Also, the effects and spookiness the motel and casino has will always be unsettling when you're trying to solve a puzzle there. The gameplay is very fast and very fluid. When you first start, the game is more of a standard third-person shooter, where you're exploring a large office tower. This is most of the game as you'll explore and pick up collectibles and talk to people in order to learn more about the Bureau, the objects of power, and how these things get contained. Think of it like a large Metroidvania with plenty of rooms to look through, many collectibles to find, and many secrets waiting to come out of hiding. While you can shoot things with your service weapon, as you go through the game and get more powers, the combat can become more hectic, allowing you to go all out with your powers. When fully upgraded, Jessie will be able to float, take over enemies, and transform her service weapon at will, usually using all of her abilities in order to not only survive many of the game's situations, but explore as well. Do you see a hidden doorway from far away and mysteriously don't have a way to get there? Well, maybe you don't have the ability or power yet to float across. Maybe a bit more exploring will get you to the other side. The service weapon you get starts off as a normal pistol called Grip. It shoots fine, handles well, and has rechargeable ammo with no need to reload. As you level up and gather strange materials throughout the oldest house, your gun can morph into several variations, including a shotgun called Shatter and a machine pistol called Spin. While it's one gun, there are several variations for you to choose from. Just make sure that you bring the right weapons for the right situations, as you can only equip 2 of the variations at a time. Though later on, many of the game's shootouts can become way too hectic. Do you know how hard it is to try to dodge 3 different homing rockets at the same time while a big guy with a minigun is shooting his grenade launcher at you? It requires a lot of dodging and using cover. Then the game brings in some big enemies that could flank you for tons of damage. You have to launch something heavy to throw at them to get a good shot. Are there too many enemies on the floor? Then levitate yourself and shoot them from above. The game lets you do it all, and more importantly, die a ton in the process. These fights can lead to some bad checkpoints leading back to the last control point you were at, not outside the room that you died in. This can lead to some very unwanted backtracking, forcing you to sprint past enemies you fought, and reloading a big battle all over again. This also applies to a few boss fights which force you to run through the gauntlet of enemies if you die. It's just not fun. With all of the cool abilities and big battles you'll face, the game has a caveat. While the game runs at a normal 30 FPS for the PS4 under stable situations, when the game has many enemies with all these effects, or if you're launching furniture at the hiss, the game's frame rate drops almost halfway. This can get very distracting, as launching in this game is one of your main means of attack when out of ammo, and this happens a lot. It's not like the game stops at HUD or anything, it's just that the lowered frame rate when fighting tons of enemies can be distracting overall. Additionally, the game suffers from some bad texture pop-ins, which is especially noticeable when you're trying to look at a portrait or a sign. Control is a strange and mysterious game that lets you experience what it's like to explore the SCP Foundation or the Men in Black building. It's full of surprises and fights that will make you ask more questions the more you try to make sense of it. Even fighting the many hiss at times can be fun, and you feel like you gain a lot through fighting them. Unfortunately, with the game's mysterious story and the creepy atmosphere it portrays to you, the game's frame rate on the PS4 can take a very deep dive under stressful situations, and can be distracting for the most part. Despite these setbacks, however, I give Control an 8. Control's a decent game with a pretty interesting story and setting. You pair this with how the game constantly attempts to break the fourth wall in an unsettling way, and you got yourself a game that'll keep you satisfied for a while trying to get 100%. This has been Gaming Instincts, and I'll see you soon. If you enjoyed the video, leave us a like, subscribe if you want, and make sure to check out our website over at gaminginstincts.com for more gaming content from an unbiased perspective.